Hi, welcome back. Welcome to the Pole Shift News, guys. And thanks for those people that have made some contributions over the last couple of weeks. I've invested that money already into a few projects, and I'm going to be showing you a little bit later on what I've got and what I'm going to suppose will be the up and coming projects for the next few weeks. It all depends on, time for me, really, how much time I can invest in this. I'd like to have them all finished and done. What am I talking about? I'm talking about what's going to become the focal point, really, for ourselves with regards to climate and what affects climate, and that is initially radiation. The reason why I say that is there's two things we're facing at the moment, as you know if you've been following the channel. One is the shrinking of the heliosphere, which is a bubble that our solar system's in. When there's low yields of sunspots, what happens is the heliosphere shrinks and more cosmic radiation comes in. So we have a radiation problem for that fact alone. The second is the weakening of the Earth's magnetosphere during this magnetic pole shift. That in turn allows more radiation into the upper atmosphere, which then sets up problems, for cloud seeding, and then blocks out solar radiation. So, I'm looking at the moment for a good irradiance map that I can add to this solar data, because, it gives us an idea of how much radiation the Earth is absorbing at this point in time. And the reason why I say that is because if we look at the last consecutive 3 solar cycles, it's clear, even a child could see, that these are dropping off. It's not even clear whether we'll have a solar cycle 25, whether it'll even begin because of the lack of output of the sunspots at the moment. We've looked at some reports in the past which probably are worth re-looking over with regards to, predictions that was made in 2015 that this would happen then. So we're a little bit, we're 3 years away from that prediction, but that work shouldn't go amiss because I think it's relevant. So just to give you a little idea, this is the sort of maps that I'm looking to add to the maps that we've already got. And you can see you've got horizontal irradiance, normal irradiance, but what I want is something that's updated regularly, so we can see when we look at the chart over at the website again what's likely to take place during this period of time. Because if you notice what we was talking about with these daily sunspots, when they drop off we get extra amounts of cosmic rays. So we are at the end of this solar cycle here, 24, and we can expect a large increase of cosmic particles, and that's going to have an adverse effect, not just on climate, guys. Let me tell you something. These high-speed particles can also have effect on other biological life forms. I mean, if we never had no protection at all, it would sterilise all biodiversities across the range. Now it would do that is it would smash into the DNA, or the deoxyribonucleic acids, of the cells, and in doing so it would disconnect that chain. And what would happen is when that disconnected chain was broken, the cell wouldn't reform in the normal manner when it reproduces itself, and therefore you would end up with cancerous cells. So these breakages can happen in all biodiversities. So if you get an increased amount of this, then like I say, and if there was no protection on the Earth, all biodiversity at some point would be subjected to this cosmic rays, which would be carcinogenic, in short. So on that topic, the reason I'm going to be building a few other bits of equipment now, I've got a few things I could build. I could possibly invest some time and money into building a spark chamber, and I could also invest some time and money building a cosmic cloud chamber. And we can play about with some radioactive sources, just mildly radioactive. We don't want to be, putting plutonium and uranium force strengths into these things, because simply, first of all, we're going to have a knock on the door from the authorities, and I dare say I'm not going to be able to obtain them, but I can obtain substances at around 2%, which will give us enough of an effect in these chambers as what we need. There's another device I want to build as well, So there's 3 in total. I mean, we could probably do with taking background radiation samples and then uploading that. So we've got, like, you know, irradiance, global irradiance, we've got radiation count, and we've also got them a visual aspect. I think it's great having the visual. I mean, we can all listen to the clicking of a Geiger counter. It doesn't give us an idea of really what is there, and I think that's what's nice about these cloud generators. Let me see if I can find one on YouTube, and I'll show you what equipment I've got already towards both of those pieces of equipment, which we can build at some point in the future. I mean, it all depends on how much we can raise and how much time I can invest, but it'd be just nice for ourselves to have these things, I think. So let's go and have a look at, first of all, a spark generator, because I'm not sure how many of you have seen these things in action. So if we can go and find a spark generator, give you a quick demonstration of that, and then a cloud tank, and we can see how cosmic rays interact with that, and you'll get a better idea as to where we're going. And this is another good visual way of looking at radioactive particles and subatomic particles, such as alpha and beta decay. It's called a diffusion cloud chamber. Now I've got the Peltier elements for this, and you can see as it goes through the chamber, it creates these like vapor trails, which I think is a real good way of not just, you know, like I say, listening to these clicks on these Geiger counters, but you can actually see what's going on. You can get muons, which are cosmic particles, fly through these, and in some rare occasions you might see them smash into other particles and change directions. But you can also see some great stuff in here. I think, you know, we've really got to build one of these. I've ordered some of the other stuff I've got. I know I've got plenty of Peltier elements which we need to you know, bring the base down to around about 30 degrees negative. What you're seeing here is what's creating this is an alcohol vapor, and as the alpha particle or beta particle goes through that, it vaporizes and gives you a nice visual display. So, you know, I'm in the process of getting all the stuff together. I'm looking at the moment for a nice clear acrylic chamber, and like I say, I've got the Peltier elements. I've got a nice heat sink which we need to draw the heat away from the Peltier elements, and we can get a good visual on these particles that the whole subject now is turning towards. And last but not least, let's have a look at spark chamber, which is another good way of viewing cosmic rays. The thing is, at lower levels you don't get a lot of activity, but I think we're going to be entering a period of time where we're going to get much more activity because of the low sunspot numbers shrinking the heliosphere, more cosmic rays coming in, and also a weakening further of the magnetosphere. The other thing I'm going to show you when I get the camera running before the end of this video is the working magnetosphere sensor that we're going to be monitoring and archiving the depleting magnetosphere from this point on the channel. So, you know, we've got a lot of good things coming up, guys. It's going to be worth watching them. So last but not least, the spark chamber, or the cosmic ray spark chamber, and you'll see what happens when you know, a cosmic ray goes through. It passes through all these plates which are negatively and positively charged. There's also a gas, an inert gas like helium, being passed in between the plates. But you can see when a cosmic ray comes through the generator, you can see the track and the direction of the cosmic ray, and obviously you can see the amount of them that are coming through as well. But out of the 3 of those devices I've showed you, this is probably going to be the hardest one to build. I have got the power supply. It's in the kilo region, you know, thousands of volts, but there are a lot of other things involved in building this. So just to give you an idea, though, of these things, it is possible to build. It's not like it's, you know, an impossible thing to build, but It's like everything else, isn't it?
Guys, got a little bit of life in the camera, so just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, there's the finished magnetosphere sensor with the magnetometer on the end and the SD card now all plugged in. I'll show you this plugged in and actual working. I'll show you how we were getting some processing coming off it with the data that we've collected over a short space of time. I've also ordered the Arduinos and shields, and I've got some spare magnetometers here which I'm going to put together, and hopefully we can put one in South Africa, Russia, Canada, South America, distribute them out to some of the subscribers if they want to get involved, and record some data. We're going to need some power packs for these to run them, and some suitable cases to put all the electronics in. And basically all I've got to do is switch it on, put an SD card in there, and record the data, and then once a month put it into the PC. It'll come up in a my file, and then just email me that my file, and I can collect that data, put it into the processing, and come up with a like a global, or these regions in total amount of magnetosphere strength, and we can see where they're decaying. I want to get them in the areas where the anomalies are stronger and weaker, especially if we can get one as close to that magnetic anomaly that's taking place in the South Atlantic Ocean, or as close around that region, what we can see where there's a plume. That'll be even better. With regards to the diffusion chamber, cloud chamber, I'm not going to use this acrylic tub because, as you can see, it's really scratched, but we've got more Peltier elements to build the cooling base. I think ideally we need a water cooled heatsink to draw out the power as well. And I've got a few other things I'm waiting to come through off eBay that I've purchased to build this cloud tank, and when that's finished we can get a visual of these cloud of these particles coming through there, and we can also get some radiated sources and just see what different effects you get off different alpha, gamma and beta decay. Some of the other stuff I've got, at some point I want to get round to setting this up. This is something that can connect the data from the Arduino setup that we've got there, as opposed to like we've got in the magnetometers at the moment. We're transmitting on one of these. This is a transceiver, NFR24, but as opposed to doing that, if we use this, it will connect directly with the router, and we can just upload the data live to charts on the internet as we get it. And what I'd like to do is have this connected also to this, so we've got an archive of data as well, as opposed to just live streaming the data. So I think perhaps this is probably something we're going to do in the future. I've also got a nice temperature sensor here, a really accurate one, which I'd like to add to the underground magnetometer when I get the FMG free. The all singing dancing, really accurate and highly sensitive sensor that we're going to put in the ground to measure also the magnetosphere and the magnetic field of the Earth. I'd like to put that in there just because I know, although I'm sticking it in the ground below the permafrost, I want to make sure that the temperature doesn't affect the readings. And like I say, as opposed to these recording in microteslas, the FMG will record in nanoteslas, so a little bit more accurate. The other thing is with regards to the spark generator, I've got these. I think if I've got enough time I'll just give you a quick visual. I'll set one of these up, but or do you need to see it? I mean, basically what these do is, if you've ever seen what they're called, them stun guns, basically between them two electrodes they produce the high voltage spark that goes across them. So that's a little generator there. I was either going to use that for the spark generator or the the cosmic ray spark generator, and just see how we get on. I've got, like I say, I've got a couple of these power packs we could probably play with, with regards to that. It's quite an interesting little pack of. There's all sorts in here, guys. Believe me, we've got unlimited amounts we can do with a lot of this gear that we've got. I mean, we've got solely lithium poly chargers that manage, charging up batteries such as those headway batteries there. Which are real fantastic batteries. I mean, these batteries were originally brought for the magnetometer as a backup source, but we've not had any problem at all with the power supply that's running them. But I was going to have lithium, these lithium batteries, as well as solar panel, and that charge controller there would run it all. So yeah. So there's quite a bit on the project board at the moment. I've got to find a case for this today to finish this. We can get this set up in a magnetically clean place, and from that point on we can start recording the magnetosphere as it decays over time, and we'll archive it just like we did with the TriMag. I don't know whether, I know this room is a bit of a mess, but we can see the receiver where I've got that for the TriMag just down there. Don't know how well can see that, but every time that light flashes red, it's received a new packet of data from one of the 3 magnetometers that we've got, and that's where we get the archived information. It's a nice little box, doesn't take up much room, doesn't take up a lot of power, and it's worked really well without any problems, touch wood, for the last 6 or so months. So there we go, guys, that's where we are. I'll see if I can get some processing done on some of the data now that we've recorded on the this magnetosphere sensor, and just give you an idea and show you how well that's working.
So just to give you an idea of how the data comes in once it's recorded onto the SD card, you can see 0 represents the sensor ID. Then we've got the magnetosphere strength, which will change when it gets put in its magnetically clean environment. And then from then on we've got the hour, which is 1700, and then 16 minutes, 52 seconds for instance. And this data was recorded on the 2nd of February 2018. And as you can see here, I just took off an array of readings. Let's just have a look how many I did take off. 116 in total, just as a test, so I could have a look at how the data was coming off. When I'm dragging the data from the sensor, I want it in a specific way so I can process it, so I have to make sure, and it's tedious, that you have to put commas in between each piece of data. So a comma has to go in after the ID, then one after the magnetosphere reading, then one after the hour, one after the minute, seconds, and then the day of the month, and then the year. So that when you put it into Excel like we've got here, you can delineate the information by commas, and it spreads it up into different boxes. And just for purpose to show you guys, I'll strip off what I don't want for this. I'll just take out the date, the time for now, and I'll just have the amount of readings by the reading values, and we'll graph it and we'll show you just how we'll get it when we start to archive the field strength over time. So just bear with me, I'll import the chart and I'll put that data in. You can see how it looks. So we're looking at now a chart that's been added the information to it. So in this case we can see that it ranges between 49 and say 50. Series 1 is the amount of readings and Series 2 is the actual magnetosphere strength. And what we would hope to see, even though this chart just see it a little bit, but I don't think it's decaying that much. I think at some point it must have been one of the wires was resting. As it was slowly resting, it was altering the reading of the magnetometer, and that's why it looks like it's decayed quite a bit. But what we would see over time is, say over a year, we would see hopefully a weakening from 49.5 to say 49. or even 48.5, depending on how much the magnetosphere strength is weakening over time. And from that point on, we could make our estimations based on how it varied over time, and by how much we could say in a forecast it's likely to decay over this much, or even more over the same period of time. But that's just to give you an idea. But what you're looking at is pretty much what we're seeing on pole shift news. If you look at the magnetometer readings, you'll see that it varies over a short period of time, up and down, as it's going along. And during solar storms, we're going to see some activity with reference to that. And at that point in time, we'll have the hours of the day and the days as which it was recorded. And if I can get that other piece of electronics connected to this, we can have wireless transmission to the router and graphed straight up onto the website live. And maybe we could do that with the TriMag data as well. But that's in the coming months. These things ain't going to happen overnight, because it's down to how much money we can raise and time we can invest, as it always is the case. But look out on the pole shift news for those radiance maps coming in at some point this week. The more data we collect on all these anomalies that are taking place just gives us better reference as to what's going on with our planet Earth. I think that's what a lot of you guys are actually interested in, and whether any short-term changes are going to have some dramatic effects on ourselves. That's what it's all about. And what I'm trying to do there with Pole Shift News, the website, is get an all-in-one shop for all these anomalies, like the volcanic activity, the earthquake activity, the magnetic migration, and data supporting that, as well as live solar data, sea ice extent, as much as we can, so that, like a lot of you have already said, how many links that you have to collect to look at these individual things. If you can just go to this website and get all your data there that you want to see, it's much more convenient for you guys, saves you time. And like I say, I've had a look at this, the way the website looks on smartphones. It's mobile. It's wherever you are at a particular point in time, you want to check on any of this data. It's better than an app, because the amount of information that's on the website, all you got to do is bookmark it, so that you can remember, just one press of a button, you've got all the data to your fingertips. And with that, guys, I'm going to end the video here, and just look out for the coming videos, the progression of these things coming along, like the cloud chamber, the spark generator and the spark chamber, and other things as well. So a link down there if you want to support the research, guys. With buying all this equipment, it's always great when I get a little bit of help from you guys, so I don't have to brunt all the funding of this, as well as all the time. I'll say what I usually do at this point. Thanks for your time watching. If you haven't already, subscribe if you're new to the channel. There's plenty of videos there, there's lots of information. And enjoy the week. And I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.